If you're struggling with social anxiety, then trust me, you're not alone. It's far more common than you'd think, and it affects tens of millions of people across the USA, across the UK, and Western Europe. And I should know because I struggle with social anxiety from as far back as I can remember, from the age of about 4 years old up into the age of 32 when I started tackling the problem head on. And in those years, I went through hell. I had to get tipsy to socialize. I would avoid eye contact. I would pull out my phone when I was walking down the street just to look like I was on a call because I didn't like the feeling of people looking at me from their cars. You name it, I have been through it. And during those 28 years, I figured out what works, what doesn't work, what is BS, what is a quick magic fix. And in this video, I'm going to give you a structured tier list of the things that really move the needle and will help you overcome your social anxiety for good. And this is not just stuff that I've dreamed up. This comes from 28 years of personal experience. It comes from coaching dozens of people. It comes from teaching thousands of people from over 100 countries through my YouTube videos and my online courses. And it's also backed up by decades of research in evolutionary psychology and neuroscience. Most of what you're going to find in this list is actually counterintuitive and goes against the usual BS advice that you're going to get from therapists or counselors or the people that are usually misguidedly trying to help people but end up just keeping sufferers stuck in the same old cycle of anxiety. Now, before I jump into the list and break everything down for you in detail, I want to let you know that below this video, you can download a free guide which will explain how these things can actually be applied in your own life and will give you a systematic approach to actually finding your way out of social anxiety for good. So you can go ahead and click that link in the description below this video. If you're further on your journey and you would like to speak to me directly, you can book yourself a call and we can jump on a free 30-minute freedom call and we'll map out your escape plan to get out of the prison of social anxiety. So go ahead and click those links below this video now. So the reason most of the advice that you get from people in the mainstream doesn't work is because they usually have not experienced it themselves. They have not been through the battle that we go through as social anxiety sufferers. So you get the same silly advice like just fake it till you make it. Just imagine the other people in their underwear. Of course, all of this doesn't work and it just leaves a lot of sufferers feeling cynical and burned out. So first of all is D tier, and these are potentially harmful things. The first one is avoidance behaviors. These can be overt avoidance, such as just staying at home and not going to events and just avoiding people altogether. Or they can be covert avoidance behaviors, where you do go to the event or you do turn up and do the thing, but somehow you're not really there. You might find a way to be there in person, but mentally distract yourself, or you might be having a drink or smoking a cigarette or chewing gum. Different ways that you will use to avoid any pain while you're actually in the situation. So the other items in the D tier are alcohol and substances, and this is linked to avoidance behaviors. Do not do what I did. Do not get tipsy just to go and socialize with people. Do not take various drugs, whether it's prescription or otherwise, just to mask your problems. This will only exacerbate the problems in the long term. It's masking, it's avoidance. It does not help you overcome social anxiety. C tier cures have a limited impact. And in this tier, I list things like medication, mindfulness meditation, and positive affirmations. Now, I'm not saying that these can have no application at all and that they don't help, but they are limited in their use. What I've seen with many people is that mindfulness can actually make things worse because you become more aware of your problems. It's not the best form of meditation to use. It can make you more sensitive to the stress that is already impacting you so much in your life. Also, medication. I don't want to dismiss this outright because I know that it does help many people, but in my own recovery, this was of limited help, and it actually made me more anxious. When I was taking sertraline, which is Zoloft, it made my anxiety worse. It gave me some very nasty side effects, but I am aware that drugs like propranolol, beta blockers can be very helpful as well. They were helpful for me, but again, these are band-aids. In the long run, they're not going to help you actually solve the problem. We're trying to solve the problem, not just mask it or numb it or manage the symptoms. And finally, in this C tier, are positive affirmations. And again, I'm not saying they don't work altogether, that they're not helpful, but they are limited. It's not really getting to the root of the problem. It can give you a more positive outlook. It can increase your dopamine and your serotonin and give you that positive drive to go forward and try things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. But again, it's not getting right in there at the root level. Okay, on the B tier, we have talk therapy and nutrition. My experience with talk therapy is it's very helpful in getting a better understanding of yourself and your problem, but it doesn't necessarily help you solve it. It basically is like a map which kind of shows you how you got to the point that you're at now, but it doesn't go any further than that. It doesn't show you the road out of the problem. And what I found after decades in therapy was that I was just reliving childhood trauma. I would actually leave the therapist room, oftentimes feeling worse than I had when I went in there, because I was just rehashing stuff that had happened to me when I was 5, 7, 10 years old. And you can only go over that stuff so many times before it starts to have a negative effect on you. On this B tier is nutrition, and this includes things like supplements and also stimulants. So eliminating caffeine and anxiety inducing foods can be helpful. Some supplements are of some limited use in my experience. But again, these are not huge needle movers. They are only of limited use. Okay, on to A tier. These are highly effective measures. And in this area, I would recommend, first of all, exercise. People will take this as being an obvious measure, but trust me, it is a real game changer and a life changer if you commit to it seriously. If you start to run a few times a week, if you start doing vigorous cardio, if you start lifting weights, this is going to have a serious effect on your central nervous system, on your dopamine levels, on your hormonal levels. And for me, this was the cornerstone habit which started a huge domino effect and changed my whole life. So exercise, if you're sleeping on this at the moment, I highly recommend that you start working out and start training. The next one is sleep. And again, this is seen as something obvious, but how many of you really are dialing in your sleep? I know I wasn't until much later on down the line. And it cannot be overlooked. If you have a bad night's sleep, your stress hormones are elevated, the quality of your thoughts are much poorer, much more negative. Everything in your body is off balance, and you will experience more anxiety through bad sleep. Conversely, through fixing your sleep routine, you balance your hormonal profile, you're more positive in your outlook, you have better energy. It is a game changer. So please get yourself a good wake up routine and a good wind down routine. And if that's something that you need help with, that's exactly the kind of thing that I guide clients on. I give them personalized exercise routines, nutrition routines, sleep routines. So go ahead and click the link below this video if you want to jump on a call and discuss this kind of stuff with me personally, one-on-one. You can book yourself a free 30-minute freedom call. Lastly, in this A tier is rebalancing your central nervous system. And this is done through things like pranayama, through yoga, through stretching, through breath holding. Because as I've said on many other videos, in the West, we're very out of balance with our nervous system. We have a sympathetic dominance, which means that the fight or flight system is too activated. The rest and digest system is not activated enough. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's all accelerator and no brake. This was a game changer for me. So please do not miss this. It's a real important step that you need to take. Okay, and finally, we're on to S tier. These are life-changing things that if you implement them, you're going to start seeing huge changes. And these are very counterintuitive. This is not stuff that I was ever told. This is stuff I figured out myself. And the first one of these is actually reprogramming your brain. There are various different ways that you can do this and adopt various different mindsets. Different mindsets like becoming a rational optimist, living life like an experiment, just becoming a more positive person in general. And this includes smiling, which sounds weird. It sounds a bit woo-woo, but you would not believe the difference it makes in your life. If you walk around with a smile on your face, you start giving out positive energy and you start getting a completely different experience of the world around you coming back to you. So this is a game changer, shifting your whole mind from being cynical, negative, expecting the worst, all of these things. You start becoming positive, you start assuming the best, you start assuming familiarity, you start analyzing situations like a rational scientist rather than being emotionally driven. This is a massive part of your transformation, so do not miss out on this. The second point in this S tier is systematic exposure challenges. And with this, you must also have the right cognitive framing. It's no good to just go out and put yourself in situations if you're not ready for it, or if you're not designing the exposures properly and you're not analyzing them properly afterwards. You can re-traumatize yourself if you overstretch. And it's also no good if you don't have the correct analysis afterwards. You need to be able to deconstruct. What did I do? What went well? What didn't go so well? How can I recalibrate and how can I keep moving forward? So it has to be scientific. It has to be systematic and gradual and methodical, not just haphazard exposures where we launch ourselves in at the deep end and re-traumatize ourselves. And third and finally on this S tier is another thing you will not hear through mainstream advice. And this is creating a life of passion and purpose where you give yourself the opportunity to completely self actualize. Because when you start leveling up all areas of your life, and you start becoming the person you were meant to be, and you start creating goals and a vision, and start designing a life of passion and purpose, it becomes very difficult to slip back down to these old levels of depression and anxiety. And this is something I figured out through my own experience, which I then saw backed up through neuroscience and which I share with clients and which they corroborate is a life changing thing. When you wake up and you have a vision for what you want out of the day, when you have a direction in your life, when you're living a life of service to others, you're living with a purpose and a drive. That is a very different energy from when you're just rolling out of bed and all that is going through your mind is you, your problems, your anxiety. This will change your life. So this is my tier list from D to S. If you want more information about this, it's all laid out in the Cognitive Reprogramming Method PDF, which you can grab for free below this video. And as I said, if you're already ready to take things forward and you want to jump on a call with me, by all means, hit the link there. You'll be taken to my calendar and you can book yourself in for a free call with me. With that said, please implement these things and I look forward to hearing how they go. Please leave me a comment below because I would love to know how you get on with this stuff.